In the last video, I counted down my top 10 WoW ground mounts. But in this video, we are taking to the air. So, without further ado, this is World of Warcraft's top 10 flying mounts. Let's do it. Number 10, Ashes of Alar. Now this mount is known by its more common name, Ashes of Autism, due to the retardedly amount of farming that you need to do to get this damn thing. You're gonna have to fly your ass out to Outland, murder Kelthus Sunstrider about 10 billion times, but you know what? You're gonna get some big nostalgia from playing as Kelthus in Warcraft 3 if you get this mount. This thing also gets huge props because it's probably, I would think, the most iconic mount from the Burning Crusade because of how rare it was and just how cool it was with its 310 flying speed. Now personally, I don't have this mount because I have the attention span of a doorknob, but every time I see it, I just can't help but remember the first time I walked through the Dark Portal back when Burning Crusade first came out. Number 9, the Clutch of GRYPHON. Look at this bird, my friend. Look at this bird. What do you see? That's right, it's a big-ass bird mount, and it flew its way into our inventories with the release of Throne of Thunder. Now, honestly, I don't have too much to say about this mount other than the fact that I like it, and I think it looks pretty cool. And it seems a lot of other people seem to like it too, since they tend to freak out whenever they get this damn thing. But seriously, this bird mount looks awesome. Love the colors, love its design, love the silhouette, and I love the little head crest. The little head crest is kind of cool if you ask me. And with a 1.8% drop chance, it's a pretty special mount to see when it drops. Number 8, the Grand Armored Griffin. Do you want to pretend that you're Anduin Lothar from the Warcraft movie, saving Azeroth from these giant CGI orcs, banging women who kind of look like they're wearing a cheap orc Halloween costume, and jumping barefoot off of towers? Well, my friend, look no further than this mount. The Grand Armored Griffin is, in my opinion, right now, the most Alliance screaming mount that a person can ride on, and I think that anybody who calls themselves a boy in blue should get themselves one of these motherfuckers. It's slick, it's nice, it's an upgrade from those basic bitch griffin flying mounts we got in Burning Crusade. It's epic. Number 7, the ONYX Netherwing Drake, or any Netherwing Drake. Now if you were to ask somebody, what is the most iconic flying mount from Burning Crusade? They'll either say Ashes of Autism, or they're gonna say the motherfucking Netherwing Drakes. And any of the Drakes, I mean, they all look so cool. They're so outlandish and spacey and dragony and just so cool. Back in the ye olde yonder days, they were a pain to get. Not everybody had them back in the day, and that's what made them really special. And they're fucking dragons, but not just dragons, they're like shadow dragons that you can kind of see through, and they're all like spectral and stuff. It's the best kind of dragon. Number 6, the Red Protodrake. Utgard Keep and Utgard Pinnacle were my favorite dungeons from Wrath of the Lich King, and seeing those Vrykul flying around on these badass Protodrakes, it always made me so envious. These aren't the regular dragons we have seen a million times before though, but something special, a type of drake that belongs solely to Northrend, which makes them a fantastic icon of the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. Now if you were a fan of the War Against the Lich King, you probably already have at least one of these guys in your inventory, but in my opinion, the red one is the best and it is the most iconic, so go get yourself the red one if you don't have it. That's what I think. Number 5, the Corrupted Dreadwing. How do you make a big, scary blue and black raven mount even more scary? It's simple. You make it green and black and throw on some Felfire, and you give it some terrifying glowing eyes, and boom, you got yourself a Corrupted Dreadwing. This is one of the coolest looking mounts that came out with Warlords of Draenor in my opinion, but the fact that it hides behind a 150,000 Apexis crystal grind means I don't see too many people riding on this thing. Because, I mean, come on. Anybody here, and raise your hand. Anyone here want to grind 150,000 Apexis crystals? Raise your hand. Yeah, I didn't think so. But to those that do have this mount, my friend, you have the patience of stone, you have the will of stars, and you look a badass when you ride on that mount. Number 4, the CENARION War Hippogryph. I remember back when I was playing Vanilla WoW, and I made a Night Elf character for the first time, and I was leveling him up, and eventually I took the flight path from Darnassus to Darkshore. Now let me tell you something. When I flew on that frickin' hippogriff for the first time, I was so jealous that these purple knife-eared cunts got to fly around on these things. They're so cool. Now when Burning Crusade was announced later on and they were like, hey, we're gonna put flying mounts in the game, I was like, you guys better, if you know it's good for you, if you don't want to get cut, you better put these damn hippogriffs in this expansion as a flying mount. And you know what? I was not disappointed. The War Hippogryph requires a lot of grinding to get because it hides behind a reputation, but in my opinion, it's worth it. And it's definitely one of my favorite mounts that I currently own. There may be other mounts that I think look cooler, but this one just holds a special place in my dark soul. Number 3, ICEBOUND FROSTBROOD VANQUISHER, or any Frostworm mount for that matter. If it's not the Protodrakes, it's these guys. Any Frostworm mount, in my opinion, just looks epic as hell, and if you play as a Death Knight, you should have at least one of these suckers to ride around on. They're big, they're scary, they're undead dragons, and they immediately remind you of that chocolate-melting Wrath of the Lich King finale, fighting Arthas on top of Ice Cream Citadel. What more could you want? It's literally the most iconic Wrath of the Lich King mount. It's a skeleton dragon. I like dragons, okay? Like, you guys might have picked up on that. Dragons are kind of cool. But I mean, come on. How much more badass can you be when you're riding around on this thing? You can't. Number 2, the Armored Bloodwing. Yes, I know. It's a store mount. I know. And honestly, I would have never have gotten it. But my ex-girlfriend at the time bought me this mount off the Blizzard store for my birthday one year, and I fell in love with it. Now, the reason why is because keep in mind that the Forsaken are my favorite race in the game, and so a giant evil red bat with huge teeth and just a terrifying face just fits the theme really well. It reminds me of those constant Forsaken flight paths you had to take back in the day between Silverpine Forest and the Undercity. It reminds me of the first time I played this game at a friend's house as an undead warlock, and I walked out of that crypt for the first time and I saw Death kneel like down the road. So cool. The mount just kind of makes me feel really nostalgic, but it has a nice updated feel to it at the same time. But there is one other mount that I think is even cooler and is even more special to me. Number 1, the Headless Horseman's mount. In the top 10 ground mounts video, I mentioned that this mount would be on the list for sure, and there's one reason why. I am not a mount collector. I'm not. But let me tell you something. This is the only mount in World of Warcraft that I have ever truly wanted. For years and years, I have killed the Headless Horseman every single day during October on multiple characters, praying for this 0.5% fucking drop chance mount to drop. But you know what? It's never dropped. Never. And every year I'm disappointed. Understand that Halloween is my favorite holiday, both in real life and in the game. And I have fond memories of the first time I heard the story of the Headless Horseman from my father back when I was a kid. For these reasons, this mount has always been, in all honesty, my number 1 mount in the game, both flying and on the ground. But I still don't have it. Alright everybody, those are my top 10 flying mounts, but here's a question for you. What is your number 1, or maybe your top 3, or if you want to go full big dick, what is your top 10 flying mounts in the game? Let me know via a comment below. Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree with what I said? Give this video a like if you liked it. And yeah, that's it.